I'm continuing my interest in doing green wood projects and using the shaving horse. So I started to make a chair, and shown here is on the left side is the SketchUp model, and on the right picture is the unfinished chair I'm building. Now I started with a design, a shaker design, in a book by Einar Honberg, Shop Drawings of Shaker Furniture and Woodenware. And you can see my red colored line work that traces over this model. So I want to get some sizing and some angles and some dimensions information from this drawing, but do it in rustic furniture and in rustic wood. In this case I'm using Scotch or French broom to make this chair. Now Einar, the drawing didn't show the shape of the seat, so I created that over here on the right side based on the dimensions in that scanned view. And here is my final SketchUp model without the seat. It'll be a woven seat with rush. Now I changed the design in a few ways, but mostly in the back I removed the back splats, replaced them with that spindle type of back slat. Now I want to show how to place a stretcher in the model, because there are angles here involved, and there are some tricky details in making a stretcher in the proper position. So I've located the legs. The legs are slanted backward but perpendicular in the front view, but slanted in the side view. And the first thing I'm doing is turning on X-ray. Notice that all my turnings have a center line, because that center line is really important in positioning pieces in a chair like this. Now I've picked the tape measure, and I'm creating a little guide point, as you can see there, and then I'm also creating a little plate that lines up with that angle of the seat angle toward the back. So I've got a face now that I can use the protractor and place the protractor tool on that face, and then hold it with the shift key and position it up to the guide point. And now I want a guide line that is 90 degrees from the axis of the front leg. So there's a guide line now that slants, it connects at a right angle, but it slopes downward as it goes toward the back leg. And now I will create that center line for the stretcher using the line tool, connecting to the two center line intersections. And so that's the center line of the stretcher. But I want to create the stretcher shape, which is a 3/4 inch diameter piece. And the first thing I'll do is draw a line that is perpendicular to that line. And I'm just using some inferencing here. You can see that pink color, magenta color, that tells me I'm at 90 degrees. And you can see that I'm 90 degrees there. And I'm going to create a plate little triangular plate, and then use the push-pull tool to pull that shape out a little bit and use it as a platform for the circle tool. Circle tool, connect to that center line, and I want to create a 3/4 inch diameter. So I'm typing 3/8 inch, and that's now the diameter face of the spindle. And it's positioned in a way that I can use it to make the length of the spindle with, well, I'll first make this a component, and I'll call it the stretcher 1, and I can edit that component, use the push-pull tool, and just push it back till it connects with the face of the outer face of the legs. And notice that because of the way I positioned the circle tool, that stretcher is lined up with that guideline that we initially made between the two legs. So I've got a stretcher envelope here, but there's no tenons. I'll bring it out, bring a copy out on the red axis, or actually I want to have a center line in that stretcher, so I'm repositioning it, putting in the center line, including that in the component definition. And now I can bring that copy out with the center line. Notice the envelope is skewed, and that's because the stretcher is at an angle. It was created at an angle, but I want to get that component positioned along the axes, the red and the green, the blue axes. So I'm going to rotate it so that it'll get back onto the green axis. So I rotate from end to end with the blue color in the rotate tool, and then I can, right there is the green axis. So I've now got that lined up with the red, green, and blue axes, and I want the envelope to be right around that thing, so I'm going to change the axes to line up with the SketchUp red and green. And now my envelope fits right around the component, and it's easier to do dimensions and views with those corrected axes and rotations. The tenon is a circle here that is 5/8 diameter, and it's 7/8 long. So I can just use the circle tool, then the push-pull tool to create the tenon on one end, copy that end, and move that copy down the center line on the green axis, rotate on green, and bring the copy back and connect. So that completes the stretcher design and in a position that it needs to be. I can dimension it now easily and find the length that I need to cut my green wood for that stretcher. 13 5/8 is the full length.